carry out over 1,000 bike fits a year. A large proportion of the customers that come to see us are riding the wrong size bike. Why is that? This is something that we're going to explore in this video today. If you consider bikes back in the 80s and 90s, back then a 54cm bike had a 54cm top tube, 54cm seat tube, an 80mm stem, and the handlebars and saddle were more or less the same height. Fast forward 40 years and a 54cm bike is no longer the same dimensions. You're talking 55cm top tube, 10cm handlebar diff, and a longer stem.
I mean, I could ride that bike.
The advent of the A headset allowed a radical change in bicycle design, allowing the front end to be significantly lower. A lot of the design cues were considered with just racing in mind. This gave rise to bikes that were not only longer, but also significantly lower at the front end. And the lower the front end, the further away from the rider the handlebars are. With the constant trend to design bicycles around races, bikes have become increasingly longer and lower over the years, moving further away from the needs and requirements of consumers. Speaking of consumers, the types of people that are riding bikes has changed. The spectrum of people that we see coming through here is vast. Back when I first started in this industry, the type of people riding bikes were typically men in their 30s, 40s and 50s, and they were die-hard racing cyclists. They rode fixed wheel through the winter, they were club riders, and there wasn't an ounce of fat on them. Nowadays, the spectrum has completely changed. We've got men, women, kids. We've got 16-year-old kids coming through here that are shaving their legs. I mean, if I'd shaved my legs at 16, I'd have been crucified. So my point is that the needs and limitations of the everyday consumer need to be considered with regards to bike sizing. The point I'm trying to make here is that bicycles and consumers have changed, but the bike sizing structure hasn't. Because back in the 80s or 90s, I, at 5'10", would have ridden a 54cm bike. Whereas now, I actually ride a 52. Furthermore, the way that we buy bikes has completely changed. With the rise of the internet, direct-to-consumer bike manufacturers, a large proportion of people no longer even visit a bike shop. But most people who are buying bikes in the bike shop get the wrong size anyway, so who can blame them?
I don't know if I can blame them.
So why is that? Why are we seeing a rise in not only consumers buying the wrong size bike, but bike shops selling the wrong size bike? Part of the reason is manufacturer sizing charts, which again stem from the arcane. They're using outdated methodology and theories to determine rider size. A lot of it is based on just rider height, or in some cases inseam. If you consider the most common saddle height reduction that we make in a bike fitting environment is over 2 centimeters, I mean, that's a bike size. So if your saddle is 20 millimeters too high and you're using that saddle height as a means of dictating the size of the bike, your bike's too big, isn't it?
It's huge.
That's because it is huge.
Oh my goodness.
One of the more misleading metrics is just bike size in itself. Let's take a Cannondale Synapse, for example. So here we have the geometry tables. And if we look at a 51 centimeter bike, there is not a single tube on that bicycle that measures 51 centimeters. Furthermore, a 51 centimeter bike has a 54.5 centimeter top tube. Frankly, that's longer than any of my bikes. And I'm 5'10".
That is a bit above average.
This basically confirms everything that I'm talking about with regards to the bike sizing structure hasn't changed, but the needs and limitations and the design of bicycles has. So you might think, well, where's that 51 come from? Where's that 51 centimeters come from? Well, some might think, well, it must be with regards to the seat tube. The seat tube measures 44 centimeters. So the 51 centimeters is just completely plucked out of the air. It's a completely random number. And as a result, has absolutely zero relevance to the actual size of the bike. So how do you get the right size bike? Guaranteed. Luck?
There's got to be a better way.
Why don't you take the luck out of the equation? One of the best ways, in fact, the only way of absolutely removing all of the guesswork from the equation is a bike fit. It's made significantly easier when you have a piece of apparatus like this. Bike fitting as an expression is quite misleading. Our approach to bike fitting is really more to do with understanding a rider's needs and limitations than it is about their bike per se. Emulating a bike position on this jig, we can best inform our customers as to whether they're buying the right size or not, and even whether they're buying the right type of bike. This jig is almost infinitely adjustable in every plane. We can adjust crank length, we can adjust stance width, we can adjust how high the saddle is, how far back it is, same with the front end, we can change handlebar width. All of these things can be carried out before you buy a bike. One of the major mistakes made by most consumers is they buy a bike and then they go and get it fitted. Well, the problem with that is that's assuming the bike's right in the first place, which in our experience, as we've already said, usually is not the case. I can't get across how important it is fit first and buy later.
Fit first and buy later. Fit first and buy later.
This has become our mantra for our entire business. Make sure you choose a fitter who is highly experienced and has more than one qualification. The apparatus doesn't necessarily make a good bike fit. We quite often have people coming through here who say, oh, I had a retool bike fit. Well, that's a bit like saying you had a spanner service. The equipment does not get the results. The bike fitter does. So look for somebody who's well educated, experienced, and genuinely wants to get the right results for you. One other thing I would consider is trying to seek out independent bike fitters rather than bike fitters that reside within bike shops. They'll be less inclined to sell you the bike that is in the shop in stock and more focused on selling the bike that's right for you. This is one of the reasons why at Bicycle we don't actually have any bike stock. We have display bikes to give people an understanding of what they might be able to buy, but we don't actually physically hold any stock because we only sell the right bike for the right customer. You wouldn't buy a set of curtains without measuring the windows first, so why would you buy a bike without measuring the rider first? With a fit-first approach, it removes all of the guesswork from the equation and ensures you greater comfort and an enhanced enjoyment of the sport. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.
Fit first and buy later.
And we'll see you for the next one. Or for a bike fit.